Hi, my name is Jeff Lynch, and I'm the product manager for CRM Core. At this point, we have added a new add-on called Support Requests. Support Requests is used for the customer after the opportunity has become an order and you have delivered your product or service to the customer, and you now have customer support requirements after the sale is made. This is a way that you can keep track of all of those requests, make sure that every one of those requests is responded to in a timely manner, and the customer has the ability to submit those requests in a variety of ways. I've set up a very basic demo here, and we're going to go through each one of these fields to tell you what it's used for and what its purposes are. Generally speaking, I've set up 3 different tickets for SP Marketplace. The title is not really that important for this demo, but that's where you would have the subject line of an email or a email that somebody filled out a form where what the question was they had. As I go down through this, I have several different tabs and I have several different fields here, and let me just explain how we use each one of those. First, the support request number is automatically calculated based off of a starting number and the ID of the particular item that was submitted, so that customers see it as a bigger number than starting at 1, for example. The account is a lookup to your account list. We use this in a couple of different ways. First of all, I need to know who submitted the ticket. But second of all, I want to look at my account and see all of the tickets that they've submitted individually, not all tickets together. So again, we're going to have a system here that allows us to look at current tickets. It's going to allow us to look at all tickets, and then it's also going to allow us to look at tickets by account. So I'll show you how each one of those works in a few minutes. And then also with that account, we'll have a contact that'll be this person will be, there's no suggestions because SP Marketplace doesn't have a contact in our system here for our demo purposes. However, if we had a contact in here, it would be related to this account here. It's what we call a cascading dropdown. Email from is in the event that the ticket has been submitted via an email, and we use a shared mailbox to submit tickets to our system. We'll have a dedicated email address in the shared mailbox for submitting a ticket, and we'll have another one over on this other thing that I'll explain in a minute, the user correspondence, to be able to go back and forth with your customer and keep communication open about questions and answers to their needs. The description is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a description of the problem or issue. The due date is when you think you're going to have it done. The customer does not set the due date. The person who's in charge of support would set the due date. The status has a variety of different options. It's either in progress, unassigned new request, assigned not started, resolved, deferred, waiting on someone else, meeting scheduled, or duplicate request. These are important because when something first comes in, of course, it's an unassigned request. After it's assigned, then the person it's assigned to has to go in and look at it, see what's going on, and change it to in progress. That's how the person in charge of customer support knows that it's being worked on. The priority is a simple urgent, normal, low. This is something that can be modified if you needed it to, but this is a pretty basic and simple one, urgent, typical. The request source, this is automatically going to be set. If it comes in from an email, then we're going to have this set to email to support. If it comes in from a web form, and we'll speak about web forms in a minute, then that would be the entry. And if it's a phone or direct input where somebody calls and asks for support, the person on your staff would enter it manually. We have 3 levels of support, so we can make Jeff Lynch the first level support, and that resolves to your Active Directory. In this case, it's up to 3 levels of support. They would all get emails at the point where they are changed to their name. Product, if you have a product set that you want to use, this is another optional field so that you can know what's going on with it. In this case, we're going to use CRM, and then we're going to go product version is product version 16. And the request category, this is another way to classify your requests, and we can then build that into a Power BI dashboard if we need to. If it's just a question, if it's a request or a problem, enhancement suggestion. Who is the sales rep? If the sales rep is assigned to the account, that will be automatically assigned here. And then in the demo version here, we didn't have an account. And then any attachments that come in are going to be dropped down here. So that's all how the basic ticket works. From there, we now start to work this particular level one support takes a look at this and they say, okay, I understand what the problem is. Now they go to the support log, and this is a thing where we're not going to have just one support log. We're going to allow you to add multiple support logs so that you can say, diagnosed. The issue will get back when complete. So we say something simple like that. These are our internal notes. So I spent an hour on it. This is in the time log. We can also modify it to make it so that the time log would automatically then roll up into a total time if we needed it for accounting purposes. We can then, after I've diagnosed it, then I can always say completed. At that point, then you're going to say, completed it, took me another hour, 2 hours into it. And at this point, you might want to go back and say support request completed. If you say resolved, it's going to send an email to the person who is in the email from or requester field or contact field, depending on which one we're using, and it's going to let them know that we've completed it. The other way to communicate with your customers is to do a user correspondence. This uses a separate shared mailbox. That way we can keep things straight. When we send a user correspondence, it automatically puts into the subject the ID of the ticket so that we know which one to put it with if they reply to it, and we can keep track of all of the correspondence right here. We don't have to rely on running down external emails to keep track of everything that was said between each other in an email format. When we do this, it's as easy as we have a CC field, the email body, the email to. If this had been filled in, it would automatically have filled that in. If there's a contact, it'll automatically send it to that person when we have the automation run in the background. So we put in the email body, we say, I have a question. Did you mean this or did you mean that? This will be sent to the customer. The customer then hits reply because it's going to have a subject line that's going to include the support request number in it between curly brackets. And that's how we know to save it, and it'll show up right here. Then we have a comprehensive list of all of the emails that have gone back and forth between the customer and the person that's solving the problem. Support documents is another place where we can store all of the documents that are relevant for this support case. Perhaps it's a PDF file on how to repair a problem. Perhaps it's a PDF file with a flow that was supposed to work, or however it was supposed to happen, depending on your product or service. So that's the basics of a support ticket or support request. We can name it many different things. Beyond that, we now want to look at, okay, we're having a problem with this particular account. What is going on with SP Marketplace? So we scroll over to our accounts list in the CRM Core. We click on the button and say edit. We could also just click on SP Marketplace and see it. We now have a tab over here called support, and I can see what support has done and what's going on, where the status is of all of their tickets. So that's the best way to take a look at individual accounts as opposed to our overall problems. The other thing we can do here is we can come into support. We've got a couple of different views that are already pre-set up, but we can certainly set up more views. This is all active requests. We also have one for all items, so that would include the resolved and duplicate requests. And then we have another view that would be used by a manager that's the new unassigned requests, so that we can go in and make sure we get that assigned to somebody and take care of it right away. Now, I also mentioned that we have a couple of different ways that you can get support requests in. This is an example of a Microsoft form that we've created for an SPMP support request, and a lot of this is typed in information. The advantage to using a form is we can gather better information and know what it is that they're needing, as opposed to an email, because when we have an email sent to support@spmarketplace.com, we end up with a subject and an email address and the body of the email. Those are the only pieces of information we can gather from that. So we put the body of the email into the description, we put the subject of the email into the title, and we put the email from in the email from field. In this case, we can ask for the company name. We do not let that be a drop down. Obviously, you don't want your other customers to see who all of your customers are, and people may abbreviate things. You can't just directly transfer that, so we put it in as a text field. When the person that's in charge, your manager of support, comes in and looks at it, they're going to say, oh, company X. Okay, I know who company X is, and they're going to change that in the actual ticket to the drop-down. So we put in a company, we put in a name, we put in an email and make that required, and we put in a phone and make that required. We have a list of products here that directly ties to the products in our system. That way we can automatically populate that. Then describe your issue or question. And then you can, in the preview form for this, then it's all set up. And then you hit submit. That creates a ticket, which creates an email to the support person. It creates an email to the sales rep if the account had been set. So once again, the three different methods of entering a support ticket are via a web form, via an email in a shared mailbox, or directly by a staff member over the phone or in a direct way. That is the demonstration of a very functional support request system that allows communication back and forth with the customer after a ticket has been raised, allows for entry of a ticket in three different methods between email, a web form, or directly, and it allows you to track it against your accounts so that you know who is doing the most of what. My name is Jeff Lynch, and this has been the CRM Core Support Request Demonstration.